So I was thinking about transitions, and I've had quite a few in my life. Hi. I've had quite a few in my life, and I was trying to think about which one I want to share with you. And I thought, so I did my master's in the States. And when I came back, I was super excited. I'm like, I'm back in Beirut, and I'm gonna save the world, and it's gonna be great. I'm gonna be a teacher, and I'm gonna teach those young minds, and it's gonna be awesome because I teach creative writing, and I'm gonna inspire them, and then I'll read poetry to them, and they'll read poetry to me, and it's gonna be so good. And then I'll do theater, but like theater for a cause, so it's gonna be great. And so the first play I had was like set in Syria, and I'm like, this is excellent, let's do this. And I was so really excited. And then I applied to universities, and I got in like part-time at a couple of universities, and then they're like, would you like to teach this other course? And I'm like, yes. And then this other course, and I'm like, yes. And suddenly I'm teaching 17 credits. Not a good thing if you've never taught at university before. And then a director I used to work with got in touch with me, and she's like, Dima, I have this part for you in this play, and it's a big production at AUB, and I would really like you to be one of the main characters. I'm like, sure, let's do this. So suddenly I was waking up at 7 and then going to bed at midnight. And meanwhile I was working. I taught during the day, and I was an actress by night. Great, right? I'm like, this is excellent. I'm saving the country, one grammar test at a time, and one rehearsal at a time. So that's great. Everything was set. And then I started getting a bit tired. And I'm like, that's cool, vitamin C, let's do this. And then I woke up one day, and I had a rash on my belly. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's the weather change. What is this? Beirut, like Matta. And then it started spreading like in all directions. So I'm like, I should probably see a doctor about this. So right before my rehearsals, which were at AUB, I passed by to see the family doctor. And he looks at it, and already I can see from his face it's not looking good. Like, he has no idea what he's looking at. And I'm like, that's not a good sign. So he's like, oh, it's an allergy, so I'm gonna give you an antihistamine. I'm like, that's good. So I take an antihistamine, and it's not going away, and it's spreading even further. So now they're on my hands, they're on my face, and on my forehead, and I had to go teach and be taken seriously as a human being. And so I went back, and I'm like, it's not working. And he's like, okay, here's a stronger one, but it will make you sleepy. And so I'm like, okay, sure. And so I took that other one, and it was still not working. And then he's like, okay, we're gonna have to put you on some cortisone. I'm like, oh, yeah, because that's what I was thinking, right? Like, I'm so glad. And so I took some cortisone, and I was very careful about what I was eating, because apparently you can't eat things with salt, and you can't eat sugar, because then you might end up developing diabetes. And suddenly everything was like out to get me. I'm like, what? Corn in a can? What is this blasphemy? And so obviously I lost weight, so that was at least like a good thing. And meanwhile, I was in this play, and I was playing the role of a Syrian courtesan from the 19th century. So I'm like, okay, I talked to my director. I'm like, listen, if, just in case, worst case scenario, this allergy does not go away by the time of the performance, it's because I caught some weird 19th century Damascene STD. Just go with it, roll with it, go with me here. And but it did go away, and we performed, and it was great. But I was exhausted, and so the weekend after, I decided I'm gonna sleep in. I have not slept in ages, so I'm gonna do that. So Saturday, I sleep in, and I put earplugs, because I really don't want any disturbances. And then my mom walks in, and she's like, Dima, wake up. Dad fell down, and he broke his hip, and he's at the hospital. So I don't know how I put my clothes on. We run to the hospital, because we live right next to Rizq Hospital. And we run there, and there was my father. And he's an old man. At the time, he was 84. And he had broken his hip. And we weren't sure, he also has heart problems, so we weren't sure if he can be operated on. And then we discovered that he does not need an operation, but he has to stay in bed for 3 months without moving. And so we had to adjust as a family. We had to make that adjustment. We had to bring in a special bed home. We had to change our lifestyle. I had to go out less to be there more with my family. And I thought, and he was, and I had suddenly this guilt feeling that it was because of me, because the reason why he went on that walk was to buy curtains for my balcony. And I thought, if I went myself to get these curtains, my dad would not have fallen and broken his hip. And so I had all this guilt. And then one night, my mom gets test results back because she was having stomach aches. And it turns out that she has a tumor on her kidney. And so, and suddenly we sat there with my father, and he's lying in bed, he couldn't move. And we're all crying as a family because we realized that, wow, in the span of a few months, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, and that's why I had all this breakout. My dad broke his hip, and my mom got diagnosed with cancer. And so that was a moment of transition in my life. I had to transition yet again into another kind of adult who knows that we're mortal, and we don't like to think that we're mortal. It's not a thing that we'd like to remember every day. But I lived through a time where I had to think about that we are mortal, and I had to think about my parents as mortal. And but slowly but surely, my autoimmune disorder, I live with it, but I learned how to do it. My dad is back to walking again, and my mom has one kidney now, but it's a very good one. And now we make jokes. So I'll say, Mom, I'd sell my kidney for a good cappuccino, and she's like, I'll buy it. and so we learned to make fun of our situation, because my condition is called urticaria, I discovered. And so I hated it at first because it meant I could not do some kind of dancing. I couldn't do things that put pressure on my joints. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, okay. So I told my friend, you know what? I'm going to be friends with my urticaria. So I'm going to be super close buddies with my urticaria, and be so familiar with it. I'm going to الurticaria تبعي. And so I just imagine me and my urticaria going, urticaria, no urticaria, no urticaria. And so that's what happened. We now are a family where we make jokes about urticaria and kidneys, and that's my transition. Thank you, everybody.